Welcome back to another episode of Footy with the Boys. We have some games to preview here today. Mike, how are we doing?
Good, brother. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing just swell. Nick, over there with the new background, the Fiorentina kit, and a new microphone. How we feeling?
I feel like a man of the future. I just feel, updated and I don't know. I think the what's the name of that show? The Jetsons? This is what
Yeah,
it
dude.
felt like.
You sound like one too.
That's what I do.
Yeah, it sounds like a Jetson is the first thing that I was thinking when hearing Nick speak. Uh, But boys, we have some more major news. We had an emergency pod about Jurgen Klopp stepping down from Liverpool. Not on the same standing as that, but Xavi then announces that he's going to be leaving Barcelona at the end of the year. He stole his flow, bar for bar. Just stole exactly what Jurgen Klopp was doing, except Xavi just said that essentially, yeah, I'm not good enough for this, and then had a lot of complaints about how it takes so much. It's so much stress to be the manager of Barcelona. It's so much pressure, and kind of kept going in on how much stress has gotten to him here. Mike, do you think that the stress of being a top coach and the pressure that goes with Barcelona maybe just not cut out for Xavi? Maybe not a top club manager then?
Yeah. Uh, he doesn't have the resume for it. I mean, he coached outside guitar beforehand. That was the only job he had. And he got the position because he is Xavi Hernandez, what he did as a player. He's a legend of Barcelona. But I think it's such a bullshit excuse, man. Like, you knew what the job was coming in. You saw what Pep went through. You saw why Pep left. You saw the other managers that went through. He had to know at least some of the pressure of the job because he knew the pressure of being a player. So yeah, I can respect that it's a hard position and that the fans demand a lot, the board demands a lot, but don't take the job if you're not ready for it. I also kind of think he's stepping down because inevitably he'd be fired. That's kind of what it seems like to me.
Yeah, Nick, I was about to say that is this kind of like getting ahead of it, where if you're about to be fired at work, you go out and say, you know what, you can't fire me because I quit. He has not been having the greatest results and continues to play some very, very young prospects that I'm sure will blossom into some good players for Barcelona, but definitely some interesting moves and has not gotten great results. Do you think this is a bit more of Xavi trying to save his own skin and his reputation rather than being sacked?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. But also, he doesn't strike me as a guy who's gonna go immediately to another. I'm not really sure what his next landing spot could be. I mean, like Tracy said, he was in Qatar, I think, and he was there for the bag. So does he go chase one again? Does he end up going following Rakitic, going over to Saudi, or what happens? I don't really know. So it's a tough one. My only thing that I keep thinking is like he was him and Iniesta. I think maybe and Messi. You have to put Messi in there as well. Gets, but like they were Barcelona. Like when you thought of them, like they were Barcelona. And so do you think this hurts his legacy at all? Does it tarnish it a little bit? Like we nothing close to a success we can call it. So I don't know. Curious on your thoughts on that, Tracy.
Um, yeah, maybe it hurts his legacy is trying to be a good manager, trying to be a successful manager. Sure, this is a stain on it, but I could separate it entirely from what he did as a player. Often great players don't make great managers. You see the off occasion where it happens, as Zidane, but it's a rarity, and yeah, I can separate it. I'm not too upset about what he's done compared to what he did as a player.
Yeah, I don't think this necessarily hurts his legacy. I also do think that although it may be a bit of a cop out to say I'm leaving when there's some flames under his seat per se, I think that does somewhat help to negate anything that would be damaging to his reputation. But I also just don't think that he's done anything like outlandishly bad that has people hating him. It's more so disappointing results rather than like terrible, terrible results. But we'll see what he does from here because I think anywhere you manage, obviously Barcelona is on a different scale, but anywhere you manage, there's going to be a lot of stress to be getting results. And if it's stressing you out so much that all his pressure is getting to you, now that maybe because he's a Barcelona legend, so he feels it kind of twofold of he has that love with the fan base. He's been a legend, so he feels even more pressure to be above and beyond. But we'll see what happens there. Uh, but there are some more positive stories than somebody announcing a resignation from all the stress and pressure. It is Maidstone, FA Cup magic. They win over Ipswich Town, and Ipswich Town is not a bad side. Ipswich Town is in some fine form in the championship and a prospect to be promoted here. A 2-1 victory. Nick, this is like Wrexham on steroids. It is way more of a storyline for them to get this win. There was a lot of talk about the US Open Cup being kind of gone away with in the US. Is this not just the biggest reminder that you need to have these type of cup competitions?
Yeah, 100%. And more so than a reminder, I think it's an opportunity. An opportunity for this podcast to do what Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney did. I say, let's fucking buy them. Let's go. Let's get this team. They have some name recognition. Mike is just as good looking as Ryan Reynolds, so I mean, let's run it. I think we could do some impact there. For the town of
Maidstone.
Yep,
Madagascar.
that one. For the town of Madagascar, we will run your team to the top.
Yeah. Mike, you within your family have some experience with lower level sides in Europe. What with that personal experience do you think this means to them? I mean, they're just working a daily job and then go in and beat a team of professional footballers here. That's wild. That is a Monday morning at work is never going to be the same.
Fuck you, Nick
Yeah.
Tracy.
Dude, it means a lot of things. From like the sporting side, from the fan side, this is the biggest story they've had. And this is something you'll talk about for generations. You'll tell your kids, this is why we support Maidstone for wins like this, beating the second team in the championship when we're non-league. We're essentially semi-pro. That's amazing. And then from a financial side, the amount of money they're going to get from TV spots going on to the next round of an FA Cup, whoever they're matched up with, I'm not sure yet. That's huge. That does a ton for your club, and you could reinvest it into infrastructure or transfer, something that inevitably could get you promoted to League Two.
Yeah. I think the transfer fees for Maidstone United are all but covered by just about anything. I don't think they're paying any large fees. But we do have.
I'd like to mention that their logo's cool. Just putting that out
Their
there.
logo
Yeah.
is sweet.
They
That's-
have to have like their fingers crossed of playing Man U next round, right? Just
You're playing at Old
praying,
Trafford? Hell yeah.
praying
Bro,
to
Bro,
have
I'm pretty sure this thing on the left is a fucking velociraptor. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that it's not, but
It's a horse, but yeah.
Nah,
you
bro,
know,
horses don't have
to each their
fingers.
own,
Fuck
man.
off. It's like a dragon.
Maidstone United fans in the comments. No, that is a Velociraptor. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we're
not a
the-
dog. What the hell?
All right, enough Velociraptor talk on this pod.
Oh, that's Godzilla.
Rakitic. Speaking of transfer fees, Rakitic leaving Sevilla to Al Shabab, the Saudi team that was linked with Miguel Almiron as well. Not going to Inter Miami to create the full Barcelona former side there, but a move here. Sevilla are struggling very much so. They're pretty close to relegation side right now in La Liga. Rakitic, is this just him saying, Nick, that hey, I'm not gonna be here for a relegation scrap if I can go get the bag. I was fine with being here when we were in Europe and doing all right, but I think it's bag o'clock for Mr. Ivan Rakitic.
What's the Magic Johnson meme? I ain't gonna be there. I ain't gonna be. Yeah, Rakitic was looking at that table. He's like, "Yep, I don't know about this." Sevilla fans like, "We'll support you in relegation." He's like, "I ain't gonna be there, dog. Hold on." So, Yeah, I go get his bag. Good for him. He must have gotten scared since Gio's coming in, so he's probably scared of the competition. Right.
Mike, that was my next point. Is this opening the way for Gio Reyna? They get Rakitic off the books and Gio Reyna on them.
Sure, dude. Open spot in the midfield, and the number 10's available. So GR10, I like the sound of that, don't you?
GR10 Sevilla. Well, we'll get into a bit of the final prospects for Gio's transfer as we move forward in this Gio Reyna podcast era. But Sevilla is certainly one of the top prospects for that. Finally, we have some transfers here. Bowie to Bayern, Brentford, 25 mil deal with Club Rouge for Antonio Nusa. Mike, do any of these stand out as something that you really want to keep an eye on for these players, or are these going to be world beaters here, you see?
I like the move for Sasha Bowie. He was pretty damn good for Galatasaray in the Champions League matches I watched. Definitely a
Yeah.
standout player against Manchester United. If I'm him, I'm like a little concerned that I was Bayern's third option to sign a right back this winter with Trippier and the guy from PSG, blanking on his name. So maybe you're a little concerned about playing time, but I'd rate the move. And then the Brentford deal for Nusa, I don't think it's confirmed with the player yet, but if that goes through, that's a great piece of business for Brentford.
Yeah. Nick, you are a notorious bees buzzing box type guy. This a big move for Brentford, or do you see this as a non-game changer for them? 25 mil is a big investment for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they invested like 30 or 40 in Kevin Schade, who's been solid, but like nothing out of this world, at least from a production standpoint. So Nusa's supposed to be the next big Norwegian. High remarks from both Odegaard and Holland, or at very least Odegaard, I'd assume as well. So yeah, I mean, it'd be a good move for them. I know Spurs were kind of in on him too, so if they're able to pull through with a deal after the team deal, maybe he turns down Brentford. But Brentford's a London team. Why not play in London? They have something good going. Thomas Frank's a good manager. I think it's a good deal for all parties.
I think it's well, maybe a little. They say Brentford have something good going off of their recent form. Obviously, they got that last game with Tony, but they were not buzzing for quite a bit. So maybe
Yeah,
take
the
some time. Maybe this could be the
Premier
spark.
League's a big deal regardless. So like, I don't think they're
Yeah,
getting relegated, and it's a big deal for him to move from Club Brugge.
yeah. Premier League in general is just it is the mecca of soccer leagues. We move into the mecca of soccer leagues schedule here. And the biggest game of the week, we start off with Aston Villa Newcastle. This game, Aston Villa starting to slide a little bit further down. They were in second and really kind of charging for a bit. Slid down here just a little bit here with Man City and Arsenal kind of making a charge. But versus Newcastle, who would it have come into this season with a lot more expectation than Villa. But Nick, what do you think the expectations are out of this game for each side here?
At Villa Park, this feels like right now the two best atmospheres in the league, right? St. James and Villa Park. So difficult places to play. I'm always going to choose the home team in a similar skill level situation, which I think it is. And you know what? I gotta go with Villa here. I think for Newcastle, if you're looking at it from their perspective, it's going to be a different game. They won their game against Fulham in the FA Cup recently. I watched that game. It didn't look that great. Fulham just played like completely rotated 11 after crashing out of the Carabao Cup. So, um, yeah, it's going to be more tough sledding for Newcastle. We talked about that a lot this year. Thin squad. Um, Good to see Botman back out there, but I don't see it helping too much. I think Villa's going to get a win.
Mike, I think Aston Villa would have definitely upped their expectations. Newcastle may have dropped it a bit now that we're getting closer to the end of the year and where they're sitting. But if you're Aston Villa, is this a game that you see as as one that you're somewhat needing to win to stick with your expectation that you may have raised up to this point of being maybe a top 4, top 6 team?
Yeah, definitely. And as Nick said, being at home at Villa Park, you need to win all those games because that's where they get all their points. They're phenomenal at home, and they need to keep that standard. Um, and another little subtext to this game: Newcastle humiliated them at the first week of the season. I think they put 6 up on them. So this is a chance to give it right back to them, and put a few goals up.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a kicking them while they're already down here. Newcastle, if they're to lose this, that is 5 losses out of 5 games. That is certainly not what the Saudi Arabian investment would be looking for. So the pressure is certainly mounting on Newcastle to get a result. Nick, I see you got something on your mind.
Yeah, I also think like how soon is too soon before we start talking about Eddie Howe on the hot seat? I get he has a thin squad, but he hasn't done any substitutions in a lot of these games. Like he's just kind of rolling out his 11 and see what he can do. He looks more and more lost on that sideline. I liked Eddie Howe when he was at Bournemouth, um, but is this job too much for him? He hasn't been able to adapt well out of the Champions League, obviously. Thoughts on that?
I think the seat is warming up, but if he can get through this game, their next 3 are against Luton, Nottingham Forest, and Bournemouth. So I think if he doesn't perform in those, that seat is going to be burning hot, but he should be able to cool that seat a good amount from those 3 games. You would certainly hope. But Mike, is he a prospect to be out if he doesn't win those 3 games and loses versus Villa here?
I think he's safe for the season. I don't see him going before the summer. Um, what he really needs to do here is attempt to get a spot in Europe, whether that's Conference League or Europa. Champions League seems just out of any sort of realm of possibility this year. But secure some of that funding. Um, he's still playing against like high expectations here with how overachieved they were last season. Um, but I think his job is safe for now. I really do.
Are you saying that he is overachieved?
Yeah, they had some time frame for what they wanted to achieve with this team, and by getting fourth last year, being in the Champions League position, they sped it up by a number of seasons, and that kind of hurt him. He kind of hurt himself because he still doesn't have necessarily the squad depth for it or the experience of players to play in all these competitions. And you saw that in Champions League this year. You're seeing it in the Premier League when they got stretched and lost some games with some major injuries, the Tonali ban, all of that. Now they're down to 10th, where if they didn't achieve what they did last season, we wouldn't have anything to compare it against. And this might seem like more of a realistic placing for the Newcastle squad.
That's such a shit take. What are you talking about? This team is loaded with talent. Like a lot of really good players. Just look at their spine down the middle. Guimaraes and Luis, Botman and Shar, and then Isak up top. That is a Champions League worthy spine. I am praying that they don't get European football and then the chosen one can finally come home. Alexander Isak, my goodness. But this team has enough quality, and that's why I'm thinking that Eddie Howe, like even with the thin squad, I think Eddie Howe has to be feeling it. I think 6 points out of the next 12, and there's gonna be some real serious conversations about him maybe having to go, not even before, or sorry, before the end of the season.
Yeah, I
I
think
agree. There's quality, but compare it to the Chelsea, compare it to the Man U, and
What?
the other big 6 teams. It's not the same. It's not the same level of investment. Look at the back line. Look at some of these guys they brought in. It's different. It's still different.
but
Wait,
I
wait,
just
wait,
think
wait.
it's a crazy thing to say that he's overachieved. I understand that he overachieved last year, getting Champions League with Newcastle, overachieving. Great job. But once you set that standard, I'm not saying you should get fourth again, but you should certainly be flirting with the idea of around that same spot, especially with the teams that are around that area right now. I don't think that Newcastle, although they don't have the investment of a Manchester United, Chelsea, West Ham, Brighton, you don't think they have better squads than them and the investment better than them that can get them up in those spots, the 6, 7, 5th? I think he's underachieved with this squad, and I think no matter what, yeah, Champions League may have stretched them, but this is 4 losses in a row that are after that Champions League stretch. The pressure's definitely got to be on him. It's no longer, hey, we're Newcastle, we just got investment, we were struggling for so long. It's you were a Champions League side. You have to raise your expectation. You can't slowly move it up when you've already proven you can do better. That's just
I
what I'm thinking.
I
You know,
agree. There is a point there, and that's why I said it's going to be determined by what he achieves at the end of the season. You are completely right. If he's finishing below a West Ham, Brighton at the end of the season, yeah, maybe it's time for him to go. But there's a lot of games left, and he's not that far off those positions. I think it's still achievable.
no, I think that's the light at the end of the tunnel is that as competitive as that has been, that has dropped them so much, it's also competitive to the point where you can find yourself working your way back up. So certainly he's going to have to try and do that. Speaking of a team trying to work themselves back up the table, much more fine margins when I say that, but it's Arsenal versus Forest here. Arsenal certainly trying to get back into striking distance for that title charge here. Find themselves in third right now, tied with Man City on points. Obviously, Man City has the goal differential and game in hand here. Nick, I'm gonna let you cook on this one. Bring us Arsenal Forest here.
Yeah, I like Arsenal this Tuesday coming up. I think it's going to be a win. Uh, Thomas Partey officially back in training. He'll get injured in about 3 weeks, but he'll play first. So I'm very excited for that. Hoping he gets a little cameo, a little preparation, and then we see finally our starting midfield of Partey, Rice, and Odegaard at Liverpool next week. So excited for that for his return. Aside from it, I think Nottingham Forest might be one of the more prone teams to shoot themselves in the foot this year. So I think some playing out the back that, like Flag said last week, Nuno's trying to implement a lot more of. I think it's gonna leave them a little high and dry at point in times. I like Arsenal 0. Give me goal scorers. Bukayo Saka back on the score sheet, and we'll go Odegaard, the captain.
Yep, and Mike, another team that's mentioned with Gio Reyna here. Gio Reyna would fit their Nuno Espirito Santos style of passing it all around. Matt Turner does not. Is this a game where you think, as manager, although you're trying to implement your new system, you just say, yeah, fuck that playing out of the back shit. Let's just bunker down and hope for the best here? Or you still playing it out the back against Arsenal?
He should. He should definitely try to play a block here. He's going to get exposed otherwise. He had to see what Arsenal did against Crystal Palace last weekend, and he has to know that his squad conceded 3 against a Brentford side with Ivan Toney, but one that hasn't been firing all that crisply this season. So, yeah, if you concede 3 against them, who knows how many it's going to be against Arsenal. They should play a little bit more defensive, especially with the guys they're still missing. A lot of dudes out from AFCON, a lot of their key defensive players and holding mids. So you're lacking some players, and Arsenal just showed that they could put up 5. This is recipe for disaster if you don't adjust the game plan.
Yeah, this could definitely get ugly if Nottingham Forest play like they've been playing and Arsenal play like they've been playing. It's on paper could be ugly. Uh, Another game that could get ugly if Brighton plays up to their level that they've shown. It is Brighton versus Luton. Now Luton, I think not as bad as we may have thought they were. They beat Everton again uh, in the FA Cup, but they're a very tough team to beat, I think is the best way to say. I don't think they're necessarily playing the greatest football, but they're tough to beat. They figured that out. Uh, versus a Brighton side that has not looked that amazing, Nick, do you think this is a game that Luton Town can get some dirty points out of?
Maybe. I think Brighton hasn't looked too bad. I forgot who they played, but they recently played in the FA Cup. Billy Gilmore actually is turning into
Sheffield.
Sheffield. Yeah, Billy Gilmore turning into a bit of a player for them. I liked what I saw from him. Danny Welbeck is still serviceable somehow. I have no idea how. This dude has been around forever. So I don't think you can expect Luton to pick up points even at home. I think they'd be happy with the draw. Deserby's still a very good. I don't know about very, but a good manager. And I think that this right side still has enough.
Yeah. And Mike, how nervous are you about Luton Town starting to pick up a few more points here with Everton, with a potential impending second point deduction, and just not really playing too hot themselves?
Nervous, man. Watched that game this weekend, the FA Cup match, where we started pretty much our best available 11, and we looked really bad. Luton outplayed us for a majority of the game. Yeah, we had some chances, and Beto and Dom were just really off. Uh, so I'm a little scared, dude, because if we want to keep ourselves in the league, we should be clearly better than these three sides, and we definitely aren't at the moment.
Yep. And that directly leads us into our game, Everton versus Fulham here. Everton, like you said, they're kind of staring right down the barrel here. They had that stretch that got us out of that 10-point deduction danger area. But since then, it's just been kind of shit. Like, Sean Dyche has not gotten them to be able to stay at that level or get great results. Now we're playing Fulham, who one win in their last five. They're not having a hot streak of form either, but it's starting to get a bit concerning for Everton here, especially with a potential impending punishment, whatever that may be, points, money, whatever. Everton is, I don't think, in the greatest position here. I mean, Luton's 1 point below with a game in hand. Like, how important is this game versus Fulham? And if we don't get points, how concerned are you about relegation as we go in kind of the home stretch here?
I'm concerned, dude. Really am. We need a draw here at the least, and Fulham's been playing pretty well, so it scares me. I hope we go back to our 4-2-3-1. That's been serving us best all year. The 4-4-2 didn't work this weekend. I know we don't have Decore available, who's usually playing that position right under the striker, but try someone else out there. Jack Harrison's played it this season. Uh, Chimedi's sitting on the bench. Danjuma's sitting on the bench. We need to figure it out, and that's when we play our best ball. We got two open in the midfield, and Fulham has serious ballers in the midfield. Paulinho, obviously. Pereira's a good player. Um, so we need to just play better. It's that's simple as that.
Yep. And Nick, it's a bit concerning for Everton that Fulham, some of their best attacks have came from the wing, from Anthony Jedi Robinson on the left, attacking that right side. And Everton, one of their weaknesses has been that right side defensively. Is that something you see becoming the Achilles heel for Everton here in a big game against Fulham?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And also, like, I don't know what the solution is on that right outside of the transfer window, which they're clearly not going to spend because can't. Like, so
Yeah.
Nathan Patterson played right, I think, in their previous game.
Yeah.
Didn't look up to the pace either. Um, I don't know what the solution is there, and I think it could hurt them here. I still like a draw in the game though.
Yeah. I think this is a big one for Sean Dyche to get the boys up and rolling for this one. You have to start getting some momentum going into the final stretch of the season.
It looks like we lost Mike.
Yeah, Mike may be dead off at Hawaii again potentially.
MIA.
No, he's
But
good. He's just getting a trophy.
that's okay. We will keep moving with him. Maybe on his way to Hawaii. We can put up a picture maybe. But I do think that Everton, you need 2, 3 more wins, and I feel like you are pretty safe here. Obviously, not including any type of point penalty coming in, but you got to start getting results here. We're pretty far into the season. We're getting close to the end, and you don't want it to be a one game to decide it all at the end type thing. But we move into a game that, for one of the teams, everything has really already been decided, is Sheffield versus Palace. Uh, Seems like a game that an Elise or an Eze could really just have some fun in. It could be a fireworks game. Is that really the only reason to watch this one, Mike?
Yeah, probably. It should probably be a pretty good competition. Crystal Palace playing really poorly recently, and Sheffield always poor, but it's a game of shit play. So if you're into that, no kinky, no kink shame.
You're into what play? Hold on.
Excuse me. Poor
Wait,
choice
what?
of words there.
All right, Nick, any borderline things to say about this one that Mike hasn't already?
No, let's keep talking about feces. I think, and let's explore this a little bit more, Mike. I'm interested in what you have to say. I think if you're a Palace fan, always darkest before the dawn. I almost want to lose this game if I'm a Palace fan. Let's get Roy out of there. Let's try to do something. Because I think that if they lose, I don't think Roy sees the light of the week. So if you're serious about change, maybe this isn't the worst spot to have a big.
Interesting take. We'll see what Crystal Palace fans think of
What?
an intentional loss to Sheffield United. I do think
I
that
didn't
they're
say intentional. Jesus Christ.
Keeping the tank alive.
tank for Tua. Uh, that is it for our Tuesday games. We'll go over the rest of the week's games on our regular Tuesday episode. But we'll get into the U.S. men's national team corner. Real Betis star Johnny Football came over from Internacional in Brazil and has been tearing it up over in Spain at Real Betis. So potential for some real depth there in the midfield. I think there's already a huge question on what you're going to do with Reina, McKennie, Musa, and Adams when they're all healthy. But now you have, if you want to play with a CDM, and Tyler Adams is not available, as he very much so has not been in the entire last year, you have that depth piece where you're not looking at a Kellen Acosta or something like that. The biggest storyline, though, around the U.S. men's national team is, guess who? Giovanni Reina. Giovanni Reina played potentially his last game for Borussia Dortmund today, got on and was immediately creating chance after chance. He is a crazy talent. Like, he switched the game up and provided the spark for Dortmund to end up winning that game, created like 4 chances in this 15 minutes. But potentially the last time we see him in that jersey. Mike, I'll go to you on this one. The Sevilla, Forest, and Marseille are kind of the 3 main people that are really pushing hard for him. If you have to choose Sevilla fighting relegation in Spain, Forest fighting relegation in England, and Marseille 7th place, I believe, right now in France. But obviously, it's a smaller league. What option are you going for there, and why?
I'm torn between Sevilla and Marseille. I'll rule out Nottingham. Don't think it's a good fit. And I'll go for Sevilla because Rakitic is leaving. He has an option to start and have an impact right away. And I think it's a more competitive league than Ligue 1. La Liga. It actually definitely is. I don't need to say I think. It definitely is. So play better competition. Take the Spanish style of football kind of fits with his play. And he can learn from some veterans who have played a long time being at Sevilla.
Yep. And Nick, putting yourself in Gio's shoes, if you're choosing from these 3, not thinking of much other than what he would be thinking in his shoes, where are you wanting to go as the player?
Yeah, I think whichever plays you the most, Copa America coming up, you got to get some legs. I do think that'd be Sevilla, in my personal opinion. So if I'm him, that's wrong.
Yep. I would love to see him go to Forest just so he's in the Premier League and getting that high level of competition. Obviously, La Liga is not too far off of that, but I do think it'd be nice to see him there. I think none of these teams are necessarily going to be perfect choices, but as long as he's getting play time, that is much better than what's happening at Dortmund right now, where he is getting about 15 minutes at the end of every game, doing pretty well, and then nothing else changes. So we'll have to see. Obviously, that wraps up the transfer window here in just a couple days, so we'll have an answer to that soon. Predictions, Sevilla, it sounds like. I think that would be where he would want to push for, but I do know that George Mendes, his new agent, is also the agent of Espirito Santos at Nottingham Forest, and he works or is a business partner with the owner of Nottingham Forest. So he has his hands all over that organization. I would not be surprised if he ends up going there. Uh, but now we will get into our locks of the week. My lock is Gio Reyna being Gio Reyna. Uh, and that's all I gotta say. But actually, I will go with a rather big game here. Liverpool versus Chelsea. We'll preview that tomorrow, or sorry, on Tuesday. But I'm going with Liverpool with a big win, 3-0 versus Chelsea. Chelsea have not been great defensively or attacking really this season, and Liverpool coming off the Klopp news, big game. The emotions are going to be high. They're going to be flying out there. I'm saying 3-0. Mike, what are you going with here? And what game? What score?
Taking Villa 2, Newcastle 1. Yeah, I'm pretty conservative with the scoreline. Think it could be more, but we'll go with 2-1.
I like it. It's a close draw there. I think it
Side
could
note,
get a
I'm
little bit
aware I
more
can't
ugly.
type.
I don't know what you just said, Palmer, but
It's okay. Everyone else heard.
No type.
all right, Nico, are you betting on the Gooners?
You know I got the boys. Already said mine. Let's up it. Fuck it. Let's say Arsenal 3, Nottingham 0.
Hell yeah.
That's yeah, it's not all surprising. That may be a low guess, honestly. We'll come back to this and see exactly where that ends up. Maybe we
Really
jinx it to
quick.
be more. Maybe we jinx it to be less.
Really quick. What do we think about de-relegating Luton?
Yeah, we might need to
Might
relegate
have to
wanna-
them.
reinstate him.
I feel
wanna
like do that
promote
if
them
they
mid-season?
climb out. If they climb out.
Yeah, if they're out of the relegation spot, I think that's when we relegate them.
Okay, so on the watch list.
On watch. They're
Big
they're on the
game for
watch.
Luton this weekend.
Again, this could unrelegate them for the time being.
Yeah, this could change their season.
Please
All
don't.
right. And we're gonna close it out now with potentially the segment that will ruin this podcast at a certain point by getting us canceled. It is our one question with producer P. Party P,
You
go
fucking
away.
love these questions. Don't even talk to me. All right, boys. Now, I remember it was probably 2 months ago now. There was that crazy fucking bicycle kick goal from that guy Gaspacho.
Yes.
And that I remember now that I'm actually like watching some of these clips. I remember watching that fucking goal and being like,
Gazpacho.
that was a fucking incredible goal to watch. And he, I believe, won the goal of the month or whatever it was, right? For that month.
Yeah, he did.
So looking back, you guys obviously have a lot more fucking highlight goals in your brains than I do. What
I just
would
understood the gazpacho.
Yes, it took me a second.
That's
Oh my
hella
God.
fucking funny.
What is he? I don't even know his name. What's his name? It's like
Garnacho.
Garnacho.
I wasn't far off. I was kind of impressed.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Gazpacho, bro.
Took me a second.
What would you guys call, like, we'll keep it in the prem even. What would you call your goal of goals? Your fucking number one spotlight goal?
I'll go first. I'm gonna give two. One in the prem, that's fine, but one outside. My favorite goal I've ever seen while like watching a game is obviously Hames's in 2014. Won the Puskas. I've seen that goal 100 times, maybe like this past year. Like I watch that goal all the time. So His career isn't where we want it to be right now, but we'll always have 2014. And then in the Prem, that one's a little bit tougher. There's a lot of really great Arsenal goals that I could think of. I refuse to say one of Giroud's scorpion kicks because what a donkey that guy is. But I think Jack Wilshere's against Norwich, set up by Giroud actually, but that beautiful team move, just a side foot finish into the corner.
That's
No one
class.
knew what was happening on Norwich's side. That was the description of champagne football, Arsene Wenger, Wenger ball, everything that team stood for, everything that I loved about Jack Wilshere, who is one of my favorite Arsenal players of my lifetime, of like since I've been watching football. So that one holds a special place in my heart.
Is it this goal or did he just score recently?
Oh, it's that one. It's that one.
Okay.
Gone too soon,
Yeah,
Jackie Wilshere. But
coaching,
that was an awesome goal.
coaching the U18s, I believe, for Arsenal. He's putting the work in.
Put in the work.
Fantastic.
Mike, do you have your goal set?
Yeah, I'll do two as well. The one outside of the Prem, it's an easy one. It's the Ibrahimovic 30-yard bike against England. I mean, that's an all-time what the hell is going on? That's only he could do that. It'll never be done again. And it's a FIFA goal for sure. And then in the Prem, there's a lot. I mean, phenomenal goals every single season, but the one that still makes my jaw drop, Dimitri Payet, free kick against Manchester United.
Yeah.
It's the most audacious free kick I've ever seen in my entire life. It's against a prime David De Gea. And the bend, curve, knuckle he puts on it into that top corner really just puts a cherry on top of that West Ham season. Still don't know why he was at West Ham. And, dude, that was different.
But the streets will never forget that Dimitri Payet stretch where he was the greatest player in the world, just banging in a free kick every single game, doing the most crazy shit with the ball. Payet was like
unreal.
on top of the world, and then went to Marseille and slowly faded. But he was
okay
for a while,
season or two.
West Ham's entire team.
Yeah.
But my goal, I don't know, not sure exactly what competition it was in, but it was from Ronaldo at Manchester United, his free kick versus Portsmouth.
Yeah.
I mean, that goal is like, yep, there it is. First thing that comes up when you search Ronaldo Man U free kick. It is a absolutely wild free kick, and
Bro, his fucking stance, dude. He's an
Man U
anime
Ronaldo
character.
there, his stance, everything about it. That's just was an absolute beauty. I think
This is
a
why
good
that
shout though would
stance.
be another Ronaldo outside the prem is his bicycle kick versus Juventus. That was
Area.
pretty fucking wild too. That was like gazpacho. Yep. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna come up. But...
Fuck.
Oh wow.
I'll give another one just for your sake, Palmer. Find a gif of this one if you can. Probably the best goal of all time that none of us said. It's the Roberto Carlos free kick against France, outside of the foot.
Oh, there it is.
Defies physics.
Pops up.
Yeah, that's the picture right there. It's the craziest thing of all time.
To be fair, I think it wasn't the question like ones that we have seen live.
I mean,
like not in person, but like watching the game.
Yeah, probably.
I mean,
ones that you were like sitting in your fucking living room and then you went, "What the fuck was that?" You know?
Yeah, there's nothing different like watching one of those goals. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Definitely one I watched was Ibra's debut in the MLS for LA Galaxy when he came on and scored that half.
Didn't we watch that together?
Yards out. Yeah, we were all there, and that was a statement, wasn't it?
Yeah, that one was fucking sick. That was awesome. I also
a lot of amazing goals.
It wasn't. I don't know. This is nowhere near the class we're talking about. But Ozil's goal against Ludogorets in the Champions League, where he just fakes out 6 people. Yeah, what a time. Or Messi's versus Bilbao. Ugh.
Oh my goodness! In Copa del Rey.
Yeah,
Messi's against
there's a lot of
Boateng.
goals you could say for Messi. I think one of the ones that I watched live most recently was not obviously craziest, but just so clutch was against Cruz Azul. 90th minute debut. Messi comes on, and just poetically,
That was
final
sick.
kick gets the top bins free kick against Cruz Azul. That was announcing
awesome.
himself.
I think even I saw that. Like
Yeah.
that was such a big deal. It even showed up in like my airwaves. You know.
Yeah, I was
One's,
out at a bar with my girlfriend and her friends, and they're all chatting, and they had it up on the TV, and I
You have
just
a
saw the free
girlfriend?
kick last second, and I was like, oh shit. Just goes in,
This
I was
one,
going wild.
This one's for the bees and the toffees, but recently, Neil Mape goal last weekend.
Get outta here. For his career, definitely.
I'm excited. No, Palmer. I want to see how you spell Neil Mape.
I didn't even catch it right, bro. Like, what? Neil
Neil
Mape?
Neil Mape.
Neil Mape.
Okay.
Neil Mbappe. Yes. That's
Wait,
him.
do we just figure out his real name?
Also,
Neil Mbappe.
one of the hypest ones is also Bales around the touchline. Fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bale's bicycle kick in the Champions League final for
Also,
sure. Too.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Built a lot of bangers.
What a player that guy was. Jesus.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Golf, Wales, Madrid.
This should be our new segment. Just boys talking goals.
We could do like a
Now we're talking about gold.
we could do goal of the week.
Go for hours.
Yeah.
Just name random players the streets won't forget. I'll start.
Yeah.
Captain Ben Arfa,
That's him, Ben Arfa, dude.
Yeah. Good times.
Yannick Bolasie.
Dude,
Bettner.
he was a player.
Baller.
Wow,
All
those
right.
guys were all
JJ
professional
Before
players.
we go, we could go on a little too long of streets won't forget. So we're gonna cut it here. We'll have another episode out Tuesday. Mike, as you do so well, close us out.
Up the Toffees. It's hard to up them, but up them anyway. We love them. We got faith. We're gonna get a result here against Fulham. Check us out on all socials. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. How about our new thumbnails? How about our new frames? Shout out Producer P for that. Thanks for joining.
Sound off in the comments.
Up the Arsenal. Peace.
Up the Arsenal.